They made a sequel to the Spider-Man story where Mary Jane got cancer and died from banging Spider-Man. Okay then, okay. Spider-Man Reign is an alternate universe Spider-Man story that is vastly different from any other Spider-Man story you've ever read in your life. I promise you that. It is so different than anything you've ever read. For starters, the artwork is very, very different. The people are drawn so grotesque in this story. But that doesn't mean the artwork is bad by any means, okay? I mean, honestly, it helps convey the story more so. This book has a very weird and interesting style of art that makes it feel like tonally it's an extension of what the story is trying to tell. It's very gritty, dark, and honestly almost a little gross, but that's kind of how the universe is supposed to be and it's supposed to be told. It's a very dark and gritty universe. So when the art amplifies that, it's pretty cool in my opinion. I will say that's like the first thing that makes this book so different. The art is way different from most Spider-Man books, but I still will say I appreciate it. Even though it's not like beautiful, gorgeous art to look at like Mark Giacchetto, you gotta still give credit. It's an extension of the story, and it helps build the universe and set the scene for the universe for what it is. So all in all, I gotta give credit where credit's due. I do love the art, but again, we're gonna continue. This story is way different than any other Spider-Man story you've ever read. The book's font is even stylized and unique from most stories I've ever read as well. I picked up the first issue of the sequel and I instantly recognized the font and artwork as a whole. Can't say enough great things about how stylized the world is and how gorgeously ugly this art is. It's peak. The story itself, though, is a bit off the rails. I really want to focus on issue 1 of Spider-Man Reign 2 that came out literally today, but I do think that we have to talk a little bit about Spider-Man Reign 1, the original story, so the people who haven't read it at least have an understanding of what's going on here and why the story is so weird and jarring and why it got a sequel in the first place. Spider-Man Reign is a story that is much darker and gloomier than your usual Spider-Man story. There's artwork with Spider-Man swinging with MJ's corpse, like it's supposed to be way darker than what we're used to, guys. This Spider-Man is an old man and he's lost MJ a long time ago. He's kind of given up on being Spider-Man until things really go to shit, and J. Jonah Jameson even is like, dude, we need you. This version of Peter is way more standoffish than what we're used to seeing, and he's also like almost ambivalent to the world's problems. Man's just so jaded from losing MJ, but then it's revealed that Peter believes she died from exchanging fluids with him, and that's what gave her cancer, because his sperm is radioactive. What? Literally, why? Why would they add this in? It's disturbing. It's disgusting. Why did they put this in? I don't get it. Or maybe I do get it. In my opinion, this shows the sad reality of the current world we live in and the current landscapes of comics. This story, Spider-Man Reign, is really only remembered and it's infamous because of this one plotline. It's the story in which Peter killed MJ with his sperm. Overall, it's a very unique and different story that's like way more psychological. There's like way more beautiful imagery. You can't really tell what's real or not, and it's awesome. But in my opinion, if that's all it was, it would have been forgotten after a bit. You know, there's been a lot of great psychological thriller Spider-Man stories we've gotten over the years that people don't even remember. But this is the one where Spider-Man killed MJ with his sperm. Like, how do you forget that? It's going to show up on an infamous list everywhere you look. This one plotline alone made the book super well known. I hate the plotline, don't get me wrong, but I get why it's there, I guess. I get it. Anyways, back to the story. This Peter's jaded and no longer Spider-Man, but things get really bad and Spider-Man is in fact needed, so Peter steps up, he recognizes he's needed, he shows out, he bodies the Sinister Six even in his old age, and he beats Venom and explodes a bomb that saves the city. It's very nice. It's got like a solid happy ending too. Peter's like visiting MJ's grave and he like is saying he wants to be with her, but he knows he can't be because he knows he's still got responsibilities to take care of. Pretty well written ending in my opinion. But then they made the sequel 17 years later. We couldn't just let man's rest, okay? We had to continue it. And actually, the author and main artist for the book, Care Andrews, is the same person who's writing both. He did the first one, he did the second one. And he was spoken to, he did an interview, and in the interview he said he was shocked that this story was getting a sequel after 17 years. He says it's crazy that the story is still within the zeitgeist of the Spider-Man fans' minds. He sees it all the time and like on these lists of Spider-Man stories for whatnot. And when he wrote the second story, he had an idea. He said, what if I can go back and fix the things that happened? And this gives me a lot of freaking hope, right? Because this story does need fixing. In my opinion, I don't think you should have a story where Spider-Man kills MJ with his radioactive sperm. That's just my opinion. No, I don't know. But I do think the idea of like him fixing things is what really made me want to read the second book. So let's talk about the second book, Spider-Man Reign 2. Look at this variant, by the way, with Miles on the front. Man, it looks like, I know he's really muscular and everything. He looks like me. I won't flex. I don't want to rip my costume. If I were to flex, I probably would look a lot like this too, you know. Ooh. Oh, you heard a little flex and you heard a little rip there. I'm sure you did. So let me not get too ahead of myself, but let's break down this book, okay? The shock value has not left the story at all. Starting with Kingpin surviving the explosion from the last story. It's like 10 years in the future. Kingpin's crawling out of like a hole and he eats a man. That's like the beginning of the book. Kingpin then rises back to power and we flash to Peter's life, who seems to have a good life. Until it's shown to all be a lie and he's really living in like a chronic sleep stasis that gives him like his dream life. That's when Black Cat comes in and tongues Spider-Man, just to snap him out of it apparently. It's supposed to wake him up. And then the two escape together. It's revealed that the Arclight is back and is protecting the city from literal impending apocalypse, but in 2 days, the Arclight will be destroyed. Kingpin offers everyone a chance to use the chronic dream pods and live out the rest of their days in a forever fantasy. It's here that Spider-Man and Black Cat get pulled underground into a goblin lair and they meet Green Goblin, who's like somehow still alive. It doesn't make any sense. This guy's gotta be like 130 years of age. The story continues on its weird path and Green Goblin sends Black Cat and Spider-Man back in time. To what looks like to be the 90s, maybe the 2000s, it's hard to tell. Green Goblin tells them they have to go back in time and fix everything. I don't really know what that means per se. I don't really know what this everything is that's screwed up, but hopefully it means that MJ's not going to die because of Peter's sperm. The story ends with Kingpin talking to freaking Miles Morales, who apparently works for Kingpin. Miles is also like in his 60s for some reason. It's an alternate universe, but damn, this guy could be like Leroy from Tekken if we're going to be honest. Review time. The sequel is a lot like the original. It's got a dark and gloomy vibe to it. It's got the exact same kind of style artwork and font and everything. It definitely feels like an extension. It doesn't just feel like a quick cash grab in my opinion, where they just like threw a different artist or freaking author in the book and just kept the same title. It does seem like there's love and care, and it does seem like it's an extension of the original author's story that he wanted to tell, and maybe a new way he's looking at it. When he was interviewed, he talked about how the story could only be written by somebody who wanted to challenge themes of when they were younger, you know, go against a lot of what you see about the hero who's supposed to focus on great responsibility. So he wanted to make a story that challenged those themes but still had those themes in it, which is why he made the original Spider-Man Reign. And now it's 17 years in the future. He's more grown up. So now he's like, maybe I should write a story about fixing a lot of the weird stuff that I did, which I also think is pretty cool. Like in real life, that like this is how he feels and this is how like his story is going to change with how he is and how he's grown as a person. I think that's all really cool in my opinion. The shock value, it's not really for me. I don't really want to see the Kingpin like naked, bloody after eating a dude. I think that's a little gross. This Black Cat who looks like a regular cat kissing Spider-Man was also kind of weird. But I will say like the storyline with like the Arclight coming back and all of Apocalypse descending on this one city, and if they don't get into the dream stasis, they're just going to die. It's pretty interesting because it's like, what is your other option? It seems like the Kingpin might be lying. We don't 100% know, but it's got a good premise so far. I don't understand where Miles is supposed to fit in. He was just thrown in at the very end of the story, and he looks very interesting as well. I'm going to be honest, but I'm very interested to see where he fits in as well. I have to be 100% honest and say I'm very interested to see where the story goes as well. I'm going to buy the rest of it. I know a lot of people don't like the storyline. A lot of MJ truthers don't like it. Gwen truthers don't like it. Spider-Man truthers don't like it. Depends who you are, but a lot of people just don't like this storyline. It's very gritty and dark, and it's different from a lot of what we know. I get it. Me personally, I'm interested enough to keep going. I thought the first one was solid, and I think the second one's proven to be even better. I think a story that's going to fix the problems with the first one, something that's really needed. That's just my opinion on the matter. This is my opinion on Spider-Man Reign 2 and Spider-Man Reign 1. If you do like this video, you should like, comment, subscribe. Let me know down below. And I'll catch y'all in the next video. Dunk out. Peace.